Hello people, so this is an interesting video I'm going to do right now. This is a little bit off compared to my norm because I usually just do movie reviews. Today I want to be talking about the MCU and where it has gone to and how I feel about it at the moment, because it's something that I haven't really touched on. I've ranked the movies, I've reviewed them, but I have not really talked about the universe and how I feel about the state of it right now. The weird thing about this is that the MCU means a lot to me. If you're part of my generation, you'd be lying to yourself if you didn't somewhat enjoy the MCU at one point, because I grew up watching these movies. Starting back in 2008, I saw Iron Man, and I saw almost all of these in theaters, starting from Avengers, and so it's a series I grew up watching and something that I've always looked up to. Now that being a cinephile, Marvel is a bad word. It's very much looked down upon as like, ooh, Marvel, and I understand that, and part of me will still always look up to it because it's almost like a thing that was always there for me, even if the movie was mid. As a little kid, I always went to them. Heck, the little kid in me still enjoys Thor: The Dark World. Now, having grown up, understanding films more and understanding how they're made, my opinion of them have somewhat soured. But I also think as I grew up, they have been getting worse at the same time, because you can look at a movie like Thor: The Dark World right now, and the CG looks better than what we got in Thor: Love and Thunder, but I think right now we're in a state where we could look back on a lot of the films pre-2016 and go back and say, oh, we said that was mid, but hey, it's actually not that bad now, because the standards have dropped. And I think a lot of it has to do with COVID. I think COVID has made a lot of workplaces really nightmarish, particularly the CGI branch, which has a lot of issues right now. They're being overworked, underpaid, topped to the max with tons of projects, and it's a good thing that Marvel is slowing down the churn right now. We only have one Marvel film coming out this year, and that's Deadpool and Wolverine. Something I think really went wrong with the formation of the MCU, and I think the perfect analogy to put it to is my expectations. My expectations going into these films was that as I got older, maybe the films would too, because, when you grow up watching these movies, they, when they first started, they were getting a little darker. Iron Man was, pretty mellow, and then by the time you got to, Avengers Age of Ultron, you had that really dark trailer. I even remember watching that trailer as a little kid thinking, dang, Ultron's gonna be scary. And I saw the movie, and I was like, yeah, light and fun. And then I saw the, Infinity War trailer, I was like, that's gonna be dark and scary. And it wasn't until the last 15 minutes. And I was constantly expecting these films to kind of get darker. And a good example of a thing that parallels that is the Harry Potter movies. If you've seen those, they start out as childish, whimsical, and by the time you're on the last movie, you're just in eternal depression. It definitely captured that audience and grew up with them at the same time. It causes for much more of an emotional impact by the time you get to the end, because you feel that payoff. I felt the payoff, let's say watching Avengers Endgame, I definitely felt that relief, that payoff, but at the same time, it didn't feel like that payoff was meant for me. That's where I feel like a little bit of the identity crisis for Marvel comes in, because who was the target audience for Avengers Endgame? I'm someone who watched them from the beginning, but yet I still don't feel like that I was necessarily fulfilled for my personal taste. Some might argue, well, we can't surround your taste, but I grew up watching Marvel movies. They formed my taste. I watched Captain America: The Winter Soldier and went, this is so cool, we can have a cool action spy thriller in here, and, it brought in my taste to watching other films. And the Marvel Universe definitely made me fall in love with movies, and that I will always somewhat love the MCU for that and respect it for that, even no matter how crappy the films get, no matter how many Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania we get, I will still somewhat have some respect for them, because honestly, they shaped a lot of what will be my generation's filmmakers. I do think Marvel's core, what holds them together from being complete financial disasters, is their characters are really likable and a lot of fun to watch. Besides that, their filmmaking is just kind of except for James Gunn film here and there. But now James Gunn's left, so we don't have him anymore. What's so sad about this is that I no longer care like I used to. I am excited for Deadpool and Wolverine, but a few years ago that would have been my most anticipated movie of the year. Now I find myself looking forward to Dune Part 2 more, even I know the movie already came out, but, at the beginning of the year, I was much more excited for Dune Part 2 than I was Deadpool and Wolverine. That's not something I would have said, a couple years ago. And with the diluted brand, a few years ago, 5 years ago, I would have freaked out if a movie got a bad Rotten Tomato score on Marvel. Like, what the heck happened? Why a bad Marvel movie? What? And now I'm used to it, and honestly, I don't even care if it has good reviews. I still don't expect a lot, and that says something, and it shows disappointment as me as a fan, and I just want to get my thoughts out here because a lot of it is implemented in the filmmaking. The filmmaking is so core to how I see these films beyond their likable characters, and it has so much to do with their practical effects, their CGI, and people might think, oh god, you're just a practical effects whiner, but when the CGI has gotten this bad and this atrocious to look at, like in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was really where I drew the line with Marvel. It's where I really put my foot down and said, stop it. And they haven't stopped it. We're getting this visual schluck. And CGI is okay if it looks good. If the CGI looks good, I can get a whole CGI movie. I don't care. But it didn't look good. And when you have films that are a little bit cheaper, like The Batman, Oppenheimer, Dune Part 2, all those movies are about either the same price or cheaper than Quantumania was, and they look 1,000 times better. And I guarantee you Dune 2 has just as much CGI. Heck, Dune 2 has more to do with its visuals than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, but it still managed to look 1,000 times better. That's because Dune 2 had a clear vision and didn't have last-second Marvel Studios saying, no, you have to change this. So it's a very studio-oriented priorities instead of a filmmaker's vision, and that's where I think Marvel gets a lot of it wrong. They are too obsessed with what their directors are doing and need to trust them and hire trusted people. They literally hired Oscar winner Chloe Zhao, and I don't know what happened in that process, but Eternals, I personally like Eternals. Obviously, it was a financial bomb and critical bomb, so it's not something to really look up to. I'm just tired of Marvel giving talented filmmakers a chance and then them getting slapped in the face. It happened with Multiverse of Madness with Sam Raimi, which also had some issues with CGI, with a constantly changing script. It's too much studio control and needs to be reeled in, because I guarantee you the end products of what we're getting is so much worse than if they actually chilled out and let the filmmakers do their thing instead of creating a mess in the middle of it. It's something that scares me for future filmmakers. I'm afraid to see if a filmmaker do a good job making a movie and then all of a sudden they are signed up to do a Marvel film. And I'm also kind of irritated when I see Marvel Studios hiring directors that's never done anything besides maybe one obscure horror film and a music video, like John Watts. and so it's scary to see how they use their power and their box office as a crutch rather than letting them use it as a tool to get the most out of their budgets. They let these big budgets as a excuse for them to do whatever they want, rather than they should be looking at their big budgets and say, what is the next awesome thing that we can do with this money beyond green screen? What kind of practical effects can we do? We need to have much more of Spielbergian, Christopher Nolan, Denis Villeneuve director type of vision in these films, because I'm tired of watching them and they all feel the same. Besides James Gunn or Sam Raimi, we really can't tell who directed what Marvel film. And that's unfortunate. If I were told that Ant-Man and the Marvels had the same director, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I believe it. I'd be 100% convinced of it. And that's a very unfortunate thing. Overall, I just wanted to make this video because I'm a frustrated fan. I'm a fan that wants this series to go the right way, and I don't want to come off as an angry cinephile who just says, I hate Marvel everything, because I even know a few people who are just like me, but have more of a stance of like, oh, everything Marvel does sucks, and everything they did before sucks. And I'm like, there are good Marvel movies, and there are good Marvel movies that have these issues, and I'm not saying that all these issues ruin them, but recently they have been ruining them, and Disney Plus throwing out a bunch of random content does not help either, and it just dilutes the brand. What they're doing is they're trying to put as much content as possible to see what sticks, but at the end of the day, not a lot of people are watching it, and they're just making the audience more detached because they keep on forgetting that, oh crap, this is a universe, so we have to include these storylines too, or else, because the two people who liked it are going to be asking questions. But then all of a sudden you have a bunch of these TV show storylines happening in a movie, and the audience is confused and going, what the heck is this? I think it needs to be more contained and make these movies feel like events again. They need to feel like event blockbusters, and right now they just feel like visual schlock, and that's very unfortunate. Anyways, comment down below what you guys think about the state of Marvel. Hopefully they fix this. It's definitely going the right direction with, right now we're only getting one Marvel movie this year. I think we're getting 2 next year. Kevin Feige at the CinemaCon event said that, they're trying to give more of a theatrical experience once again. They're filming Thunderbolts. What was the other movie that they have in production right now? Captain America. They're really trying to make that like IMAX experiences, and that's most definitely a step in the right direction. So they're trying trying to improve, but the thing is, I don't know if they will. It could be just more of the same, but with a different type of label to it. So yeah. Anyways, comment down below what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe, and stuff like that. And adios.